At that time shall arise Michael, the great prince who has charge of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never has been since there was a nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered. Everyone whose name shall be found written in the book will be delivered. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the scroll until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro to increase knowledge. The truth of the life is always simple. And life seems so complicated because we ignore the way of the truth. No one likes truth. No one likes truth. Imagine if anyone come to you and telling you the truth, naked truth. All our nastiness, all our inconfidence, inferiority complex, fear, and something you always run away from. Somebody come and telling you very honestly, bluntly. You feel you almost die. The reason we survive is we lie each other. Do you know that? We lie each other. Tell each other we are glad we survive. Truth is simple and good. The problem is we don't want the truth. I don't want anybody to tell me the truth about myself. I know more than enough. I've been running away for all my life. I try to escape as much as possible, and I don't want no one to tell me the truth. The problem is there's one person right next to me telling the truth all the time. So those who are single, if you're going to get married, be very careful. And if I'm going to officiate the marriage, I'm going to put one more sentence in there. I swear to lie all my life to you. That's the only true way to survive. However, if the survival is the only thing, I think that's okay. We just lie each other. You know, we don't mean to harm anybody or anything. We just want to be nice to each other. We don't want to hurt each other. That's the 99% of the reason that we're telling a lie to each other. So it seems okay if survival is the only issue. Survival is the only issue, meaning that myself is only from the moment of birth to the moment of death. That's all who I am. If that's all who I am, who cares about what? As long as I could take my benefit, my interest, I keep my interest, I really don't care about others. I mean, I wish that good things happen to others. I wish they are happy, but, my survival, my comfort, my possession, those are important things. But if not, that's all. If I'm more than who I am, what I am, before the moment of birth, And if I am who I am, what I am, even after this physical death, then the problem is not that simple anymore. Then we have to take the challenge. We want to escape. We want to have comfort. Whatever it may take. However, life is much more than when I was in the body. Then, because I know I have truth beyond my bodily existence, even while I am in my body, I know my soul has such a sweetness, such a mystery, such possibility. Many of us never live that mystery. We are so busy to survive. Today's text says, in the last time, people will hurry. They move fast to increase the knowledge, because knowledge is power. And we know it. I don't need to tell you. Bible doesn't need to tell us. We all know we are more than this bodily existence. And then, to blooming up, to realize the goodness and the beauty and that dream that I have in my soul, to realize that I need to take a challenge. I don't mind go through the hardship. I don't mind go through the suffering. Just like Olympians who pursuing for the gold medal endures the harsh and severe training. So again, today's text telling us very simple truth. The truth is there will be God's time. Until that time, we could do whatever we like to do. We could think whatever we like to think. I mean, we do everything the way we like to. Makes me comfortable, makes me convenient. But the truth is, yes, everybody could do whatever they wish to, what they please to, they afraid to do, whatever they do. But there is God's time. In God's time, everything completes. Everything comes to the end. There is time. I mean, there's a simple truth. So it's saying very, very, very simple truth. So it starts as at the time, right? Michael, the chief of archangel. Michael, the prince who protects God's people, will rise at that time. Until that time, history could do whatever they like to do. But now God's authority, God's power begin to enter into the history, interfere with the human history. Will be the time of trouble. Of course, it will be the time of trouble. Such as never has been till that time. Earth, history, has never experienced this kind of tribulation because it's a final thing is coming. But at that time, God's people shall be delivered. So that's the time when God's kingdom will be appeared, will be completed on this earth or in this world. This time, one side is judgment, and the other side is a deliverance and salvation. And those who sleep shall awake. Bible always expressing the death as a sleep, because when our biological rhythm stops, our conscious stops. Conscious stops. There is no time. There is no space. Sleep is exact word. Yeah, we going into the consciouslessness. It's more than unconsciousness. Consciouslessness. And in Earth's time, maybe 7,000 years later, 1,000 years later, when God's will, God's providence when realized, that meaning the end of human history, everybody awakes, come back into the consciousness. When we come back to the consciousness, that's who I am forever. That's who I am forever. So when we die, moment when we die, we are a very happy person. We'll be happy forever. We will be under the curse, inferiority complex. Eternally, we suffer the inferiority complex. Do you know what is the most dreadful thing is? The human is the most beautiful thing in the universe. Human has such beauty and mystery and dream and such possibility, potentiality beyond everything. You know, human is the only thing who been living totally evil in his or in her all his life, all her life, yet the new possibility is possible at every moment. That transcendence, that's the beauty of human life, because we are image of God. No matter how failed life we may live, no matter how unsuccessfully we may live, it really doesn't matter. The moment is given present. It's always a new moment that I could choose whatever I really like to choose. So those who will sleep shall awake, and some to everlasting life, some to everlasting shame and contempt. Remember that. Remember that, right? During our time, we could do whatever we like to. But there is a moment that divides us. Once, while we are in the time, we could do whatever we like to. But for us, time is not given forever. When body dies, time stops. When body dies, time stops. There is no more time, there is no more space. Meaning that we cannot make decision anymore. We cannot change. Change is possible until there is time. So even today, very precious 24 hours has given to you. It's an amazing grace. If you don't notice this, chances are we easily waste our life. Each day, 24 hours, is a miraculous time. It's the most wonderful time. I don't have to live who I am, who I was yesterday. No, we don't have to. I could live who I am, afresh, anew, being and person. Can you try to do that for a few hours in church today? Telling person next to you, I'll be very nice to you. And don't forget to say, except the wallet. I want you to remember, more than everything, more than anything, there is time of division. Some to everlasting life. Some to everlasting shame and contempt. To me, it's a wonderful, wonderful description. Better than heaven and hell. What is hell? We are person. Most painful thing is, I am not worthy. That's the most painful thing. I'm standing here as a pastor preaching the gospel here. But I feel I'm not unworthy. And I cannot have power. I cannot have authority. I cannot be happy at all. So, when the moment of eternity comes, I feel I'm not worthy. I'm just terrible thing. And the world does not coming from what I'm doing. Doing is important, but there is a deeper level of our being itself. Being itself. And this morning, as I prepare to come to church, the Elliot is home, and he told me, "Appa, I'll massage you." And this is the guy who thinks that if he massages me, he done all his son's duty. Then everything else is my duty for him, which is true. But I like what he is doing. Yes, of course. But if I compare that with this, he is my son, his being, it's not comparable. So to prepare eternity is you come into true relationship with God. That's all. He doesn't ask you anything. He doesn't ask you to go to church every Sunday. That's only if you're willing to. Without willingness, coming to church was worth. And he realized, you are from me, which is totally true. Therefore, I love you, and I want to have good relationship with you. That's all he wants. And the wise shall shine like the heavenly light, so the wise will shine. And turn many to the righteousness, like the stars forever and forever. Now, the most important thing coming in verse 4. But you, Daniel, close up and seal the word of scroll until the time of the end. Time of the end, meaning that end of the human history. End of human history meaning the beginning of the God's history, God's kingdom, whatever you like to want to express. But interesting thing is, many will hurry to and fro and to increase the knowledge. What a busy world we create these days. Okay, the lesson is very simple, right? God's will be completed in His time. Our time is called the chronos. Chronos is quantitative time. You know, time in my watch, it regularly moves. That's how we measure time. You know, time is the movement of space. When I move here from here, it took a time. And when bodily phenomena stops, of course, time stops, space stops. So when the chronos is not forever, it is heading toward kairos, God's time, qualitative time. And I'll share you some video today with you. Okay.
Bohr said that when an atom was heated, its electrons would become agitated and leap from one fixed orbit to another. Each downward leap would emit energy in the form of light in very specific wavelengths. And that's why atoms produce very specific colors. This is where we get the phrase, quantum leap.
If it weren't for the quantum leap, you would have this smear of color coming out from an atom as it got excited or de-excited. But that's not what we see in the laboratory. You see very sharp reds and very sharp greens. It's the quantum leap that's the origin and the author of that sharp color.
What made the quantum leap so surprising was that the electron goes directly from here to there, seemingly without moving through the space in between.
Okay, the first video is this. Early 20th century, physicists found incredible things. And main person's name is Neil Bohr. And you will see him, Neil Bohr. And the light was heated. People expected a spectrum, like a rainbow. If you see the rainbow, from the red to the purple, there is a spectrum, right? But instead of spectrum, they saw the line. Red, orange, they saw the light. to us, that's nothing, right? But the one who understands, that's very strange. What happened to the space between? How come we have lines? And what they found was electron. Electron, atom. In atom, there are electrons, right? Electrons circulate the orbit, and electrons does not move through the space. It just jumps one orbit to the other orbit. In first orbit, it creates a red color. Second orbit, it creates an orange color. And the third, and yellow color. Therefore, it's not spectrum, you begin to see the lines. So they call the quantum leap. That's quantum leap. You jump to another space. You don't move through the space. It's a very strange thing. I mean, for you, it's not strange, but it's a strange thing. Trust me. Second video.
But first, I need to make a couple of adjustments to the lane. You'd expect that if I roll a few of these balls down the lane, they'll either be stopped by the barrier or pass through one or the other slit and hit the screen at the back. And in fact, that's just what happens. Those balls that make it through always hit the screen directly behind either the left slit or the right slit.
The double slit experiment was much like this, except instead of bowling balls, you use electrons, which are billions of times smaller.
You can picture them like this. Let's see what happens if I throw a bunch of these balls. When electrons are hurled at the two slits, something very different happens on the other side. Instead of hitting just two areas, the electrons land all over the detector screen, creating a pattern of stripes, including some right between the two slits, the very place you'd think would be blocked. So, what's going on?
Okay, this is even more stranger. When they shoot the particles through the two slits, then you expect on the back of the screen, you will see two lines of particles, right? Instead of two lines, they saw the many lines. That cannot never happen. As a demonstration, and that guy, by the way, is a professor at Columbia University. And it's like a bowling ball. You throw through the two slits, two holes. You end up with the two holes, right? It's not. It's many lines. So what happens? Let's see.
Waves. Waves do all kinds of interesting things. Things that bowling balls would never do. They can split. They can combine. If I sent a wave of water through the double slits, it would split in two, and then the two sets of waves would intersect. Their peaks and valleys would combine, getting bigger in some places, smaller in others, and sometimes they'd cancel each other out. With the height of the water corresponding to brightness on the screen, the peaks and valleys would create a series of stripes and what's known as an interference pattern. So how could electrons, which are particles, form that pattern? How could a single electron end up in places a wave would go?
Particles are particles, waves are waves. How can a particle be a wave? Unless you give up the idea that it's a particle and think, aha, this thing that I thought was a particle was actually a wave. A wave in an ocean? That's not a particle. The ocean is made out of particles, but the waves in the ocean are not particles. And rocks are not waves. Rocks are rocks. So a rock is an example of a particle, an ocean wave is an example of an ocean wave.
And now somebody's telling you a rock is like an ocean wave. What?
These are the all Nobel Prize winner, and they felt like a child. Now, what they saw was, through the particle was shot through the two slits, and it created many lines. It means only one thing. Particle is not particle anymore, it's a wave. As you saw the picture, wave go through two holes, it just not stay there. Because it turns the course, so it interact each other, making the many waves, and up and down. So all those lines is the high point of waves got marked. And obviously, that Stanford guy is the guy one who insists everything is particle. So it's not wave. And the University of Maryland guy says it's a wave. Change your brain. Don't change your reality, kind of thing. Now, even more strange thing is coming. I mean, even today's best physicists, even when they're talking about quantum mechanics, they always starting with, I don't understand this. But I'm saying it, hope that you might understand. So this is the one thing nobody understands. Okay, next video.
Finally, a physicist named Max Born came up with a new and revolutionary idea for what the wave equation described. Born said the wave is not a smeared out electron or anything else previously encountered in science. Instead, he declared it's something that's really peculiar, a probability wave. That is, Born argued that the size of the wave at any location predicts the likelihood of the electron being found there.
Where the wave is big, that's not where most of the electron is. That's where the electron is most likely to be.
And that's just very strange, right? So the electron on its own seems to be a jumble of possibilities.
You're not allowed to ask, where is the electron right now? You are allowed to ask, if I look for the electron in this little particular part of space, what is the likelihood I will find it there? I mean, that bugs anyone, anytime.
As weird as it sounds, this new way of describing how particles like electrons move is actually right. When I throw a single electron, I can never predict where it will land. But if I use Schrodinger's equation to find the electron's probability wave, I can predict with great certainty that if I throw enough electrons, then say 33.1% would end up here, 7.9% would end up there, and so on.
Okay, when you throw the single particle, you could never guess how it's gonna behave, what happens. You could never behave. You could never predict. However, if the particle is, in this little tiny end, we have about billions particles, right? You know that. So there is a large number of particles is shielded that we could figure out probability, how it's going to happen. In fact, you see that formula you saw in the screen was so accurate, it's 100% right all the time. Without quantum mechanics, right? Quantum mechanics, we go back to 19th century. This video is possible because of calculation of quantum mechanics. Without quantum mechanics, we go back to steam engine and Morse signal, ton, 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 ton. That's the only way we could communicate without line. Because quantum mechanics, transistor was possible, computer was possible, smartphone is possible, and everything, Microscopic, all circuit. This is all from the quantum mechanics. So you could use it almost in a certain way. However, when you observe it, you cannot say it really is. So Einstein said a very famous phrase, appears to be. Appears to be. It seems it appears, but you're not really sure if that is really there. Okay, let's go another video.
According to Bohr's approach to quantum mechanics, when you measure a particle, the act of measurement forces the particle to relinquish all of the possible places it could have been and select one definite location where you find it. The act of measurement is what forces the particle to make that choice. Niels Bohr accepted that the nature of reality was inherently fuzzy, but not Einstein. He believed in certainty, not just when something is measured or looked at, but all the time.
Okay. In late 20th century, Niels Bohr and Einstein is in collision course because Einstein is gravity. Gravity is the law for the big things like galaxies, a solar system. It is precise. With this formula, you can calculate and predict 100% accurate how the planet, how the stars, how the galaxies moves. We figured out. Now, on the other side is a galaxy, cosmic scale, and Niels Bohr go into the quantum scale. When you go to quantum scale, there is no certainty. You don't even, you cannot even experiment. It really is there, right? But strange thing is, when you observe it, it is there. When you observe it, it is there. Is it strange? Since I'm doing the ministry, to me, it's not strange at all. Another thing is, particle is known that they are spinning. They're spinning very fast. And when they spin, they have a two movement we all learned from high school there. One is clockwise, another is counterclockwise. Even that is when particles spinning, you don't know this is clockwise, counterclockwise, or 45 slant, or you could never tell how it spins. When you observe it, when you look at it, suddenly it takes one form, either clockwise or counterclockwise. Is it strange? Hard to understand. But I'm the minister, it's very easy to understand. People do whatever they like to do, right? When God observes, when you realize sight of God, suddenly your movement changes. Counterclockwise or clockwise. I hope your movement is clockwise. See, in the quantum level, it's not material anymore. It is borderline of material and consciousness. So physicists, they are so confused. Pastor, to me so obvious. You got my point? And Einstein didn't like the quantum physics, the Bohr's idea that is uncertain. So he said, God doesn't throw the dice. God doesn't play with the probability. So Niels Bohr said, don't tell God what to do. Obviously, their God is not God, that we thinking of, meaning the principle of the universe. And then Einstein said, I like to think moon is there even when I'm not looking at it. According to quantum mechanics, When you are not observing it, you cannot tell it really is or not, right? So these two guys fighting like a child, immature guys. Right? Isn't it good news? Einstein and Niels Bohr is a bit immature? No? Okay. The last video.
Entanglement is a theoretical prediction that comes from the equations of quantum mechanics. Two particles can become entangled if they're close together and their properties become linked. Remarkably, quantum mechanics says that even if you separated those particles, sending them in opposite directions, they could remain entangled, inextricably connected. To understand how profoundly weird this is, consider a property of electrons called spin. Unlike a spinning top, an electron spin, as with other quantum qualities, is generally completely fuzzy and uncertain until the moment you measure it. And when you do, you'll find it's either spinning clockwise or counterclockwise. It's kind of like this wheel. When it stops turning, it will randomly land on either red or blue. Now imagine a second wheel. If these two wheels behave like two entangled electrons, then every time one landed red, the other is guaranteed to land on blue. And vice versa. Now, since the wheels are not connected, that's suspicious enough. But the quantum mechanics embraced by Niels Bohr and his colleagues went even further, predicting that if one of the pair were far away, even on the moon, with no wires or transmitters connecting them, still, if you look at one and find red, the other is sure to be blue. In other words, if you measured a particle here, not only would you affect it, but your measurement would also affect its entangled partner, no matter how distant. For Einstein, that kind of weird long-range connection between spinning wheels or particles was so ludicrous, he called it spooky. Spooky action at a distance.
This is most unbelievable things, entanglement. When two particles, they are closer each other and they share same property. What it happens is the physicist says, as if they are one. They are one. Let me tell you again. I'm talking about physics here. Two particles sharing the same property get closer to each other. In between them, what happens is entanglement. And once that happens, no matter how far you make them apart, no matter how far apart in timely, from that moment on, they are always connected to each other. To me, it tells this. We share the same property with God because we are image of God. We are created by God. God's character is in us. And when we close enough, when we accept Jesus Christ, we entangled. No matter how far you may go as a prodigal son, you are still entangled with him. And it's not possible to avoid the impact. So today I showed a little bit of quantum physics. I mean, isn't it fun? Quantum physics, the first thing is the space is relative. For us, space is absolute, isn't it? If I'm here, I cannot be there. In quantum physics, you cannot really say I'm at where. While I'm here, I could be there and many times. But isn't that true as a consciously? While I'm here, I could think about the fellowship hall. Oh my gosh, they're gonna eat all my bagel. I gotta finish up this sermon very quickly before all these children, useless children, who always gives me trouble time, like Yumi and Hyunwoo. And so I gotta finish before all bagels gone, right? We are occupied with our bodies. We are occupied with this phenomenological world. We think this is all. This is not even 1% of the whole universe. And when material world finishes and we go into spiritual world, when we, in the borderline of the material and the consciousness, we already begin to see all this physical law is breaking down. Einstein didn't like it, but breaking down. No more time, no more space. Everything is relative. You could exist only in the eyes of beholder. So make sure our beholder is God, not Satan. And another thing this quantum physics telling me is that when I am a particle, I'm just a disconnected individual. I could do whatever I like to. I could think the way I like to. I could do the things I like to. However, as a human history, whole world, it's not that blurred. It's not that it's certain. How this human history go and end is certain. Although individual within the history and society, may they think they are so free, whatever they could do, whatever they like to do. But destination, ultimate destination, is not relative anymore. It's absolute. It always the way it is meant to be, it is designed to be. And another thing about entanglement. I mean, we all know this also too. There is a Thich Nhat Hanh. He is a monk from the Vietnam. He said, in a sheet of paper, I see the cloud. Because there is a cloud, there was rain. Because there was rain, trees could grow up. Because a tree, there is paper. Everything is interconnected. Everything is entangled. You don't care about for anything? I mean, that's your choice. We are together. We should care for the history. We should care for the Ukraine. We should care for the suffering people of third world. We should care for, there are still many under the poverty line in this United States. Can you believe it? That's God's heart. That's God's consciousness. When we live with God's consciousness, our life is much nobler, worthy, and precious. Survivor. If you are possessed by the mentality of survive, not much. Not much. Really. Only thing you really care about is yourself. Maybe your family. Sometimes not even your family. You resent. You curse. That's not life. Life is having a God's heart. So, to end my message, to believe is to trust God's certainty in the end, in the midst of our uncertain time. We are in the quantum level, but never forget there's a cosmic level there. Nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing is probable. It's absolute. So in chronos, we are living toward the kairos, God's time. That's what it means to believe. I'm glad we all believe in God in Jesus Christ. Let's pray.